Hey guys, Janus here. Now I know there are like a million videos out there on how to rig a camera, especially the Pocket 6K. But I'm making this video because I'm really happy with my setup and I just honestly want to share this with you. So if you find anything new in this video, I'm really glad. If not, just remember you can skip the video at any time. So before we actually start with the video, just two short disclaimers. The first one is I'm not sponsored by any of the companies or brands mentioned in this video. All the gear I use and show is simply my experience with that gear and what I like, my preferences. So yeah, I'm not getting paid by any company. And the second one is that every camera rig, of course, serves a certain purpose. Now, in my case, it is flexibility and speed. Those are the most two important things for me. I mostly work with clients on location for product videos, etc., or music videos, stuff like that. So going from a tripod to handheld to a shoulder rig in rapid succession, that is very important for me. I don't want to break the flow. I need to move on and shoot as much as I can in documentary as well. So those are my preferences and my goals when it comes to the perfect camera rig. Keep that in mind, okay? Alright guys, first things first, I'm really sorry for the location. I wanted to shoot this in the studio, but right now time is really precious and I want to get this out as soon as possible. So yeah, it's not the optimal location. I'm shooting this in the main office here, so sorry for that. Now I wanted to start with just an overview of the system. Before I go into detail, I wanted to show you how I use this rig and this setup. And for that, the first thing I wanted to show you is the rails. And I'm using 16-inch 40 centimeter rails. This might seem a little bit excessive, but it actually makes sense for me. So, and the other one is with this setup, I also use a side handle and I'll show you why in a minute. And so handheld, super easy. This is quite heavy, but also quite stable. It's also quite easy to use focus. So not a big deal, right? But how I use this 80% of the time is actually like this. Okay. I have 3 points of attachment right here. I have the side handle right here. The V-mount battery is right here. And I can hold the rig with this hand. I can also, if I need to, adjust the zoom. And of course, I can easily use the focus right here. So this is actually quite a nice setup. This is my remote iPad where I can see what I'm doing here. And yeah, so this is how I use this. You can go quite low actually. So this is more on your hip. Or you can also go pretty high like this. So here again, I take this like this and it's super stable. I don't have image stabilization on the lens, but you can see you can do quite smooth movements here. And again, flexibility, the next thing. So if I use a tripod And if I'm traveling, I just use this K&F tripod. I switch the photo head for a fluid head. This is a Manfrotto. So easy to mount this on a tripod. So when it comes to the shoulder rig, then this is also quite easy. The only thing I really gonna change here is I gonna change the side handle to a Nato rail side handle. So this is much quicker than. For now I need to unscrew this. And then for the shoulder rig itself, the entire system is pre-adjusted, and I'm going to show you in a minute how. So this is all measured perfectly to fit my needs. So all left to do is get this on here. The short side goes to the follow focus. And then we only need the shoulder pad itself. And in terms of the monitor, you could opt for a longer magic arm, so you don't need to detach and attach this and just swing it around. For me personally, that is not a big problem, and I really like this shorter magic arm. It's way easier to adjust while filming. So you can easily do this on a tripod. You can also do your handheld stuff. You just need to adjust the monitor. You can also use this setup. So the same as before, only this time I don't hold the rig on under the rails, under the rods, but instead I just use the handle. But it still works the same way. With the added benefit, of course, that you can mount this to your shoulder, and really easy to do. You can reach all the buttons that are necessary. That is a quick overview of my setup, and maybe you already see why I do like this so much. And this solution also, by the way, for me, comes with a backpack solution. I'm also going to show you that. All right, let's dive into the details. Hey guys, future me here. You know, since I don't have a sponsor for this video, I thought, why not sponsor my own video? Now, since I'm a musician, I thought I'd let you guys know that I just released my first single with my new project Tronic Water, and it's called Being With You. So if you're in the mood to listen to some music while listening also to this video, feel free to follow the link in the description, and I really hope you enjoy this kind of music.
On this morning, I almost forgot to say that I love you, although I do.
But now, quickly back to the video, okay? So, we have an overview of everything I use right here. I took everything apart, basically almost everything. And I also have a link to pretty much everything you can see here in the video description. And so yeah, let's start with the camera itself. This is the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro, but everything works with the 6K as well. And as you can see, I left the cage on. This is the SmallRig full cage. And I also left on the base plate, as you can see right here, but this is not a big deal, it's easy to install. Next we have the cables, which I also left. So you can see the HDMI adapter, which is really only there to protect the connection at the camera itself. I like this upside down to the monitor, but you can of course mount this however you like. Also, we can see the USB-C cable for the SSD and the charging cable, which I bought separately in this case. And yeah, I basically bound everything onto the cage with cable binder, and so yeah, I don't need to fiddle around with this. The base plate comes from Nicerig. I kind of don't remember why I use a Nicerig one. Probably it was on sale or something like that, I don't know. But really whatever base plate, they all work the same. There's no magic behind this. Another part that basically never comes off is the Nato rail for the top handle. Here I chose the smallest one I could find, so just for my backpack and for the handle itself, of course. And as mentioned before, I also gonna switch the side handle to a Nato rail, which makes it so much easier to switch it on and off. But then again, a camera rig is kind of never finished, so all of this was never planned ahead. It just developed as I went along. So of course things will change. Now the first thing I usually attach is the top handle. This one comes from SmallRig and like mentioned is Nato rail. So super easy to attach. And it was also important for me to have the ARRI locating pin connection so the monitor doesn't go sideways. Let's just attach this real quick. Then the next thing I always attach is the Quickrelease plate. This one comes from Manfrotto and came with the fluid head. And originally there were a 1/4 and a 3/8 screw, and for some reason that didn't work for me, so I took one of my own 1/4 screws. But the only really important thing here is that you use two. You really want a strong connection right here, so just use two screws and you're basically good to go. Also worth mentioning is that the base plate and the quick release plate basically never come off. I regularly check if they are still sitting tight, but other than that, they just stay on all the time. So next are the rods, and in my case I use 40 centimeter or 16-inch rods. And as you can see, I taped kind of the position where I want them or how far I want them to go into the base plate. And again, this is just measured for my purposes. So let's just attach them real quick. The other one just roughly around the same. With this lens, which is a Canon, and I don't know why they do this, but basically zoom control and manual focus are kind of switched. So depending on whether you have a Canon lens or any other manufacturer, you from the follow focus, the gear has to go to the other side. But in my case, yeah, this is the next I attach. SmallRig mini follow focus, the F40, and I just saw the SmallRig releasing the F60, and if you build a new kit, I strongly recommend to buy the F60. There are really a lot of smaller improvements. The main thing probably is that you can switch the direction, and this is really useful because depending on what you are used to, I attach the follow focus on the right side. If you like it on the left side or from above or whatever, each time you get a different direction. So this is kind of not cool. And with the F60, the new one, you can simply switch the direction, so you can use whatever you're used to, which is very nice. All right, this goes next. And then we have power supply. And this is the Andycine V-mount battery plate. And I think that was actually a recommendation by a friend. So I don't regret buying this. Super flexible. You have power conversion to D-tap, which is for the camera, but also 12 volts and 7.2 volts. And also a USB charging port, which comes in handy for lights, microphones, or even a smartphone. And besides all kinds of charging cables, the package also includes the rod clamp. And I simply use the internal screen kind of as a spacer to help me position this. Now for the V-mount battery itself, I chose this one right here, and this comes from a German company called Rollei, a company I really like, rock solid products for reasonable prices. But yeah, the only thing is when I checked on the gear for this video, I saw that this V-mount battery here is not available anymore. I wrote the company and I'm gonna let you know if this is permanent or just temporarily. Anyways, they also have other models like the 180 watt hour battery, and there are also a lot of other companies that make really good batteries, so that shouldn't be a problem. I gotta say though that I do like the 220 watt hours, just because even with a very bright screen, I can run this gig for like 7 hours or more. And it is also big and bulky and adds a lot of weight to the rig, which is something I really like. Alright, next thing is connecting the cables, and I usually start with the power supply for the camera. A cable I bought separately, and I just go around the V-mount battery here, so the cable is not in the way. This goes into the D-tap. Then we have the cable for the monitor, and the monitor itself came with a lot of different cables. So you simply choose the 12 volts for the monitor, and this goes around the V-mount battery as well into the 12 volts port of the plate. And now finally the side handle. And again, I definitely recommend using a Nato rail system because this is kind of a pain for me. Oftentimes I disconnect the USB-C port, so you definitely want to check on every connection after attaching or detaching the side handle. So almost done. In terms of monitors, I decided for the Andycine C7, which is exactly the same model as the Fieldworld LUT7. And two things were important for me. The first one is 7-inch, 5-inch is way too small for my taste. And the second one was just a DC in. And this one also comes with an HDMI out, which is really, really useful. Especially if you have another monitor on set, or you go to a wireless transmitter, whatever. This is really useful, so I like this. Also a DC out if needed. And yeah, in terms of feature, this thing really has everything I need. 3D LUT, focus assist, a very good sharpness. I usually pull focus rather with sharpness of the monitor than with focus assist. But yeah, that's the monitor for me. I really like it. In terms of how I attach this, this is a SmallRig articulating arm, and this one has a 3/8 Arri thread on one side and a 1/4 thread on the other side, which goes to the monitor. And for the shoulder rig, I use a Superclamp or crab clamp, which also has all kinds of threads. The only important part is here to have again a area located pin, so this can easily go in here as well as here. So yeah, this is a reasonable quick way for me to change the monitor from the top handle to the shoulder rig. In terms of the HDMI cable, this one I bought separately. The monitor itself comes with, I think, HDMI to micro HDMI and some other connections, but a full HDMI to full HDMI was not included, so I just bought this. And this goes to the adapter on the camera and then to the monitor, as well as the power supply. Now for the SSD, I opted for the SmallRig SSD card holder, which goes to the cold shoe mount of the cage. And I also don't use internal cards. I have cards installed only for backup reasons, but everything else I record to the SSD. And this is a Samsung Portable T7, and this is really useful and also needed. This is just fast enough to record the highest resolution and also has enough disk space. So for me, this is actually the only viable way to record my stuff. Now with the base rig essentially ready to go, the only things left are some attachment for microphone and lights and stuff like this. And I bought some cold shoe adapters right here. One goes to the cage, the other one to the handle. And this is essentially just a flexible spot where I can mount my microphone. The other attachment is the Moshuzo ball head mount, and I hope I pronounced this right. And I originally intended to use this with a monitor, but as it turned out, it's just not flexible enough. It's not enough space to configure the monitor how I wanted it to be. So I ended up using this for the light, and it also comes with a cold shoe base plate. So super useful, especially since the top handle has so many mounts. And I mount this to the side, and then I can easily attach the light. Although I do have to unscrew the monitor right here, it blocks kind of the way. But other than that, everything looks fine. And yes, I use a plier here to really tighten this, and this is just honestly how I do it. In terms of the light itself, it's again from Rollei, an RGB light with color temperature adjustable, and you can adjust the dim level, of course, and there are other companies out there that do the same. I really like this one, especially since it has a nice little LCD, and so there's no guesswork involved. You can adjust the color temperature exactly how you want it, and you have like a lot of effects on there. You can use RGB saturation to get the exact color you want, and it's reproducible. So that is essentially why I really like that light. It's also very bright, so that really helps in a lot of situations like documentaries and stuff like this. And it's also always at hand. You can easily unmount this and attach it to the clamp to have the light somewhere on a bookshelf or whatever. So it's really nice to have this, and it's essentially always on the camera just in case. In terms of audio, I opted for the Comica set, and I chose this over the Wireless Go 2 from Rode for a few reasons I'm gonna tell you in a second. And this one is the Boom XD Pro, And the Pro in this case means that you can record into the transmitter with or without having a connection to the receiver, which is super useful and for me actually essential. Now, if you want to start the recording on a transmitter, you have to do this manually. And for some, this might be a con. For me, this is actually a pro. I really only need this every now and then. And yeah, just overall, I don't like things happening automatically. I also think it is really not too much to ask to start the recording manually. So yeah, I'm good with that. The other thing is, with this set, you can adjust the level of each transmitter individually, which you can't do with the Rode wireless system. Also, the lavalier mics are included in the Comica set, whereas with Rode you have to buy them separately, which I did, by the way. And I compared both of them, and they are not too much of a difference, but I kind of like Comica also better. The quality is really top notch. So yeah, I definitely recommend the Comica set. It is a very complete set and you're good to go. When it comes to the internal microphones, they are really good, especially if you're in a quieter environment. You can just put this under clothing, for example, and you will get a really good result without having the microphone in your frame. So I really like that. Another good thing here is the set comes with a three-way charging cable. So one USB-A going out to three USB-Cs, which means you can easily charge all three at the same time. There is also a cable for smartphones, which is kind of useful. And this one is for the camera. So I just connect the output of the receiver to my camera. And then I just clip it on a cable right here. I also attach one of the transmitters on the cold shoe mount of the camera. So this is basically a replacement for the internal microphone, but also super useful if you need to quickly record someone or something. So you have it always kind of in reach and you are flexible in terms of audio. Since the V-mount battery and the V-mount battery plate both have USB ports, you can easily charge your microphones with the three-way cable in addition to a light, for example, or your phone or whatever you need. So that is super useful. All right, like I mentioned, this is the Manfrotto tripod fluid head, MBH 500 if I remember correctly, and a simple K&F tripod which I use for quick and flexible leg work essentially. This is surprisingly stable, and yeah, so the fluid head is absolutely awesome and something I can't recommend enough. You can get away with a lot of budget gear, but I really think the fluid head or a good head in general is just a must-have. And so yeah, this mounts super easy. I showed this earlier. And now when it comes to the shoulder rig, I actually remembered where I got the Nicerig baseplate. I was wondering where I got this. But this came actually as a set, and of course also in the description you can find everything. But let me show you. I was looking for a flexible setup which doesn't require me to change base plates or anything. I just wanted to leave the entire rig as it is and just mount it for the shoulder rig. And there is a Nicerig setup which delivered just that. and in that you get the 40 centimeter rods, you get the base plate, the shoulder pad and the handles. And the nice thing about the handles, and yeah, this is essentially a hack. Usually the grips are here, so I just unscrewed this right here and yeah, drag this out just a tiny little bit, so there is still like this in here, so it's stable. It's absolutely stable. Another very huge advantage for me is I figured out how I like it, and I never ever detach this. So this stays like this with everything perfectly built for my need. And also the follow focus exactly on this position. And I just go in here. I use a clamp. There's a Superclamp, and this is, I think, called crab clamp. I don't know, but yeah, essentially this is probably the easiest way. And also, if I don't use this on the shoulder rig, you can mount a monitor very simple to a handle, or you can mount lights on this somewhere on a shelf or anything, so super useful. The shoulder pad, very comfortable, and all I have to do is shove them on here, roughly around here. And again, if I'm gonna use a shoulder rig, I unscrew the side handle. But then again, switching between all those modes is so easy. But yeah, that is basically it. So that way you can easily use this in a way like this. Also on the shoulders and back on the tripod. Alright, now I'm going to show you the backpack. Alrighty, last thing I want to show you is my backpack. And the backpack again comes from Rollei. This is exactly the right size. I was looking for something like this for quite a while, and I found this and I tried this and it works and it makes me happy. So for me, having the ability to have this rig just like it is in there, grab it and go shoot is amazing. So yeah. I basically removed everything that's inside here. Essentially, all you have to do is, of course, we detach the light, audio and the light go in here. Then everything else can stay. It's really like this. You just put this in here, just like this. Now we detach the cables. We detach the top handle, and this one is also amazing because I can show you. You can leave this just like it is, that's fine. We just loosen this, and now we put the monitor in here. I always loosen the battery flip it around and put it in like this. And then for a little protection, because I really don't want to hurt the screen, we put this in between the screen and the top handle. The top handle goes in like this. So SSD goes in here. Yeah, actually we can leave this or just put it down here somewhere, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, this one probably goes in here. You can really see where I'm going with that, right? So the entire system is ready. I have my little tools, my little toolbox right here. This also works. If you have more than one lens, all you need to do is just also detach the follow focus. You can put the follow focus in here, and so you have easily, depending on the lens, you can have 1 or 2 lenses here, or maybe you have another backpack for your tools and utility stuff, and that way. And so yeah, look at this, you're ready to go. Reflector, some batteries, there's enough space here for other stuff. The K&F tripod goes in here, also super useful for extra safety. And so yeah, if I'm on set, if everything has to go fast, it works like this. And for real, you're ready to go. That is all it takes. So this is my favorite setup, and I hope you enjoyed this. Alrighty, that's for this video. I really hope you got something out of this video. You can let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions or questions, if I forgot something or if this is totally nonsense. And see you in the next one. Ciao.